What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Fall Obsession Podcast. It has been a minute, and I'm sorry about that, but I am happy to be back with you guys again finally. My name is Sam Thrash, and I am your show host here at Fall Obsession. So, we are getting into turkey season. This is a big time for a lot of folks out there, chasing birds, springtime. A mixture of cool and warm weather. We're not baking in the summer heat, but we're also not freezing in the winter cold out there in the woods. It's a beautiful time to be out hunting and chasing some birds. And I'm trying to get the podcast back up and going with our normal weekly schedule and kicking it off with some turkey hunters on the show. And as I'm beginning this kind of spring turkey campaign for Fall Obsession Podcast, I thought there is no one better to bring on the show than Miss Kendra DeBerry, who is one of our Fall Obsession team members. She's been a part of our staff for several years now. She currently holds the position of our Southeastern regional coordinator, which means in addition to being a pro staffer and a content creator for us, she's also managing or helping to manage our staff members that we have in the southeastern region of the United States. So we're very grateful to our six regional coordinators that we have here at Fall Obsession, as well as our staff manager, Todd Sellen. They do an incredible job keeping the wheels rolling of the Fall Obsession staff team here. So very, very grateful for that. But Kendra is an avid turkey hunter. It's her wheelhouse. I mean, she's an incredible outdoors woman in the first place and loves everything hunting in the outdoors. But turkey season is certainly a time that she shines, and she loves getting out there in the woods in the spring and chasing some birds. She's been doing it for a long time. She's got a lot of experience with it, so I invited her on the show to kick off this turkey campaign and to talk some specifics when it comes to turkey hunting strategies and tactics, calling. She is a masterful turkey caller, so we talk a lot about calling and everything, and then also we get into some details and some considerations that newer turkey hunters, even such as myself, I consider myself a new turkey hunter, should be thinking about and applying when we go out there in the woods. So this is both a fun and interesting and engaging and an educational episode. And I look forward to sharing it with you guys and you guys tuning in. So, like I said, exciting time of year, and we're trying to get some change the focus a little bit to our spring obsession, and that is spring turkey. Before we get Kendra in here and start the episode, got to hit a little bit of housekeeping with you guys, starting with our partners and some discount codes that they have for you guys that listen to Fall Obsession Podcast. So don't fast forward, don't turn it off right now. Got some stuff in here you guys might be interested in, so bear with me for just a second. The first partner of Fall Obsession Podcast that we like to disclose with you guys is Hoot Camo. I love Hoot Camo. Kendra uses Hoot Camo, an experienced turkey hunter like her. She's one of our biggest Hoot Camo users, if I'm being honest with you. She absolutely loves the gear and uses it every season for deer, turkey, all of it. Hoot makes some great gear, and it certainly shines in the spring. You can even go to our social media pages right now and see a couple of Florida birds that another one of our staff members has already put down rocking some Hoot gear. So go to hootcamo.com, shop around, see what strikes your fancy and everything on there. And if you want to place an order, you can use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, and that will save you guys some money with Hoot Camo. Bear River Archery is the official archery pro shop here in North Texas of the Fall Obsession team. Justin Canaday, he has got an awesome operation going, and it's about to get even better. He's about to open that new shop out there in Van Alstyne, Texas, so you guys don't want to miss out on stopping in and seeing him if you are local to the North Texas area, or if you would like to shop online and give Justin and Bear River your business. You can do so at his website, and you can use the code FALLOBSESSION, all one word, lowercase letters, to save some money at checkout. Tacticam Reveal is the official cell cam of the Fall Obsession team, and we are getting a lot of pictures and videos right now of some toms strutting around, especially down here in Texas, and we'll be putting those, if we haven't already, on our socials for you guys to see. But the Tacticam Reveal cameras, I can't say enough about them, guys. The quality of just the physical product, and then the quality of the picture that you get, what you can do in the app as far as tracking your wildlife and everything that you're getting on your cameras, it's second to none in my opinion, and it's a resource that is very valuable to any hunter out there in the field. So guys, go check out the Reveal cell cams and see what they can do for you. Finally, the Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. You can hear our Fall Obsession podcast show streaming on Outdoors Dan's Outdoor Call Radio app every single Monday. Also on the Outdoor Call Radio app are tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love, streaming on a continuous loop every single day. It's like you're listening to a radio show on demand. Guys, go check it out. It's free. Download the Outdoor Call Radio app and start streaming today. If this is your first time listening to a Fall Obsession podcast episode, thank you. I promise you're not just going to hear me talking the whole time, at least not for this one. So Kendra's going to be here in just a second. But if you can hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever we have up there for you guys, turn those notifications on if that's an option. That way you guys know every single time we drop a new episode. We put out new episodes every single week, or we try to. I have been struggling so far this year, and I apologize, but we're getting back in the routine of it. So frequent podcasts, and we don't want you guys to, again, miss out on any of our episodes. If you like watching the podcast videos, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also have hunting shows, films, other hunting and educational outdoor content on there. We are a hunting and outdoor media production company. That's what we do. So we produce all sorts of different stuff in the outdoor industry. You can go to our website, fallobsession.com, to learn more about us, to see all of the different avenues of content that we are currently producing. And you can also pick up a hat or a shirt if you're so inclined to support the brand. We always appreciate that. And finally, Carbon TV is another place that you can find our Fall Obsession shows, or at least some of our flagship series. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, streams on Carbon TV, as well as our two different hunting shows called Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Carbon TV is a free hunting and outdoor streaming platform, guys. Go download it today. You're missing out if you don't have it. And check out everything that is on that platform. Again, it is Carbon TV. Go download it. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my rambling. We're going to get this episode started with Kendra. Thank you guys for listening. This is another Fall Obsession podcast.
The power lies within that middle ground.
Hunting transformed my life.
I think you have to be built somewhat different.
That Dale Brisby's a super puncher.
When you get Pop-Tarts on the next Walmart order. I'm serious.
Because to come into this country and stay dedicated to that, it was pretty awesome.
If it's only for one, then you've done your job.
We have to do what's right for the wildlife, and that's our responsibility as hunters.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash, and my guest this week is one of our Fall Obsession team members. She's our Southeastern Regional Coordinator and one of the most avid turkey hunters you are ever going to meet, Miss Kendra DeBerry. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast again, your returning guest.
Thank you, Sam.
Happy to have you, and looking forward to this one for sure. I would consider you a subject matter expert on all things turkey. So, and it's that time of year where folks are wanting to get out in the woods and everything. But it has been a minute since you were last on the show. So, for anybody who's a new listener to Fall Obsession Podcast who has not met you before, just take a quick second to introduce yourself and tell us how you first got into turkey hunting and what hooked you enough to stick with it.
Okay. Well, I'm an avid hunter, which you know that, but deer and turkey are my passion. And I'm an artist and I do construction work. So when I'm not doing that, I'm out in the woods trying to chase turkeys down. As far as how I got started, my oldest brother came to my house one day. This was probably the 90s, back in the 90s. And he had a diaphragm turkey call. And he wasn't any good on it, but it kind of like sparked a little interest in me. And he was talking about turkey hunting. I was like, oh, really? Because I was like all into deer hunting and rabbit hunting and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to have to get one of those and try it out, you know. And once I got it, I found this tape of Ben Rogers Lee. A lot of people know who Ben Lee is. And it was a whole cassette tape that showed, or it explained from him how you hunt spring turkeys and fall turkeys and what each sound sounded like and what the best sounds to use to call a bird and stuff. And I just literally sat down and I practiced and practiced till my throat was sore. I felt like I had strep throat with a diaphragm call. And from that point on, my brother called me to call turkeys instead of him carrying his diaphragm call.
Wow. So
That's how I got started.
so do you think that that's part of what has drawn you into this over the years is just the different calls, the different sounds and having to really work to understand that and then to apply it in order to manipulate birds? Has that been something that's been
What
a big thing for you?
Yeah, the big thing that drives me as far as turkey hunting, because when you're deer hunting, you can use rattling horns and you can grunt, but turkey hunting, you get to be vocal, and I get to sit there and talk with birds and have a conversation on. And when I, can actually make them think that I'm another turkey and I can get their sounds down and we're communicating, and they come in and I get to hear that tom, hit that drum, and it just fires me up hearing them gobble. But
Oh yeah.
it's the passion that drives me is just getting to talk to him.
Yeah.
Whether I get to kill one or not, if he answers back to me and I get him close enough and I got him gobbling, that just fires me up.
Yeah, it'll fire about any of us up. I would say I have not had a big passion growing up for turkey hunting, and I still there are so many people more avid about it than I am, but it really past couple years I would say has been when I've kind of just really perked up at it a little bit more. And last year we had a hunt with some fall obsession team members here in Texas on our place and everything, and a couple of the guys, Nick and Chad, they put a bird down. But one of the things that I still I'll never forget it was my son and I, he was out there and he was 6 almost 7 at the time, and he had a little like an old box call that my dad passed down to me. So it was a relatively old call, and
Yeah.
we were spending more time like as hosts, just trying to get guys in the right spots to hopefully kill a bird. So we weren't doing a whole lot of hunting ourselves, but at one point during the morning hunt, while everybody was out, we went to a spot not too far from where we were at camp just to see if we could drum something up. And we were sitting against a tree, and he had that box call, and there was a lone hen just came walking through there, and he started just playing with it. I told him, I was like, hey, just have fun and play with it and see what happens. And him and that hen started talking to each other, and she probably was in that clearing around our tree for about 20-30 minutes, and at like a 20-yard radius, she was just doing laps around us trying to figure out where he was at. And I got a
Yeah.
video of it. He's just sitting there just playing with it, and he's playing with the pitch and the tone and everything like that. And I was like, man, this is cool. It was just a hen. It wasn't even a Jake or a Tom or nothing else. It was just, but he loved
Yeah.
it. He was like, this is awesome. I'm talking to this
Yeah.
turkey right now.
Yeah. That's what's cool about it, like kids, that's a good way to get them started into hunting, because when they see that they can relate back and forth, carry on a conversation with the animal, that just sparks them all the more.
Oh yeah, yeah. It fired him up for sure, and he's still thinking about that. He's like, Dad, are we gonna go back out there? Are there any turkeys this year?
Yeah, I've carried a lot of kids over the years turkey hunting. I have people around where I live, they don't know anything about turkey hunting, or they don't have somebody to carry their kid, and they say, hey, do you mind? I was like, no, I don't mind. It fires me up to see a kid get, all excited about it, especially when you get them in there. They're like, they had no idea, like
Yeah,
I could get that close to a big turkey. It's pretty cool.
yeah. It gets them fired up, and again, it kind of gets them hooked. It's whenever you're getting a kid into the outdoors, you want it to be a positive experience. We all know hunting, and we know that there's unsuccessful hunts, unsuccessful sits where you might not even see anything, whether you're deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever it might be. We
Mhm.
all have those days, but you obviously want to. Those days will come for a youth hunter, but you want to give them. I try to give them as much action as I can out of the gate, because that's how they're going to fully understand, like, what's there. If they're just sitting out the woods looking at trees, they tend to think it's a little boring. So,
Yeah, exactly. So you hand them a turkey call and say, "Hey, just go at it,
Yeah,
have fun with
yeah.
it."
Have fun. Play with this hen a little bit. You got a
Yeah,
turkey call in your hand right now. Is that what I'm seeing? I got a glance at it a second ago.
yeah, yeah. I've got a diaphragm in one hand and a slate in the other, and I got a box call in over there. I've always my vehicle stays packed with turkey calls, whether it's deer season or not. I carry it. When I was surveying here a while back, I was just going through the woods making turkey sounds, and they're all looking at me. What are you doing? I was like, I'm practicing.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
so I want to talk a little bit about just like some tactics stuff a little bit, tactics for lack of a better term, I should say, but um, just taking us through a hunt for you during turkey season. What is what's your strategy? What's your application for like when you first start a hunt on a property? What are you doing to try and locate birds?
Well, first of all, I kind of look at the terrain and see what kind of terrain I have, because here where I'm at, turkeys like to roost in pines or they'll get up in oak trees, but they like to roost around creek bottoms or on top of ridges. So I kind of start checking those areas out and look at them. And then I will look to see if it kind of pinches them down to a point, if they're moving through where they're kind of, going to cross over. And that helps get me in a better position for them. I'll actually go, and glass form, or, just sit and see if I see them or if I hear any. There's a lot of people that will, use the owl hoot and crow calls and all that stuff and go out and try to roost one. And I've done that a few times, but I don't depend on that all the time. I mean, because a lot of times it just might be on the fly. I get up and I go, and I've not roosted one. So when I get out there early of that morning, I may hit some yelps or something like that. You hear my dog; he's practicing his turkey call.
Yeah, you got a visitor behind you too.
I've been trying to teach him how to gobble. That kind of freaked me out. uh, but no, I'll do like a couple of tree yelps or something like that, or I'll do something to see if something's on the roost, or I'll just kind of wait a little bit until it starts getting where they're going to fly down. They're gonna speak no matter what. Whenever they're going to come off that roost, the hens start waking up, they're going to make sounds and stuff. But and when I'm looking over a property, I look for the kind of things that they, feed on, but I'll look for scratchings, in the grass, and it usually tell you what direction they're going because they'll fluff the leaves up
Hmm.
behind, and you'll see where they're feeding at, and then I'll try to use those feeding areas to find them or, get close to them. But if you can ever find like an old logging road or places like that, they like to strut on those pathways and stuff, show their stuff out, or they'll get out in the middle of the field. So if they get out in the middle of the field, I try to see where that place is they feel comfortable going in and out of the field.
Hmm.
And that's where I'll, kind of set up, try to cut them off, because once they're out in the middle of the field with a hen and stuff, it's hard to call them out of that field unless you make that hen mad until she comes over there and wants to stomp you, and she brings her boyfriend with her.
Yeah, a lot of woodsmanship goes into it. It sounds like so.
Oh, yeah, it's all, knowing the game that it's I tell people, think like a turkey, get to know the turkeys and think like one, because they're pretty smart. And I mean, especially if you want to kill a 4-year-old bird, with a long beard on it, you're going to have to be pretty smart to outwit them. I mean, but the easier time to kill them most of the time is either the first of the season before they get really with the hens, or the later end of the season whenever all the hens have, like, they pretty much been through them and hens are starting to nest. Then the toms are still like, well, I got to find somebody else, so
Yeah,
it's easier a lot of times to the bottom end of the season.
gotcha. So what would you attribute your success more to your your calling abilities or your scouting abilities, or is it a equal effort?
I would probably, I'd want to say equal, but I'd say more on the calling. You kind of got to know what temperament the bird's in to be able to call him in, whether he's hot or he's slightly interested. Because sometimes when I call in a bird, he may gobble at me, and I'll kind of wait a little bit, see if he's going to answer back. If he don't, I'll make him kind of hold like, you got to come to me, because normally turkeys, the hens go to the tom, and I'm trying to get this tom to do the opposite of what he wants to do. And so I may, kind of hold back, but I've got to learn what voice to use or what tone and stuff, if I need to go kind of soft or get raspy. And I'll even throw in where I sound like, two or three hens together. Like, okay, there's a whole flock. I'm going to go over there because surely there's one in there that, I can hook up with. So it's all kind of reading how that turkey's, his temperament is for that day.
Yeah. So what tells you when he's gonna be playing hardball? Like at what point are you able to determine that, okay, this dude's pretty hemmed up, and he's probably not coming off of the hens that he's with?
When I hear his first call, and I can kind of say, okay, I feel like he's 100 yards from me, and he just kind of stays in that spot. And then all of a sudden I hear him backing away. What he's doing is trying to get me to come to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to kind of play this chess game. But if he keeps backing away, then a lot of times people will overcall. You got to decide at that point whether to get more aggressive or tame it back, play hard to get. And that's the hard part,
Yeah.
is trying to determine whenever, if he pulls away from me, you can kind of, move about and try to, circle around and get in a different position and try it again. And a lot of times I may even change my call just so he doesn't know it's the same, like hen. I was like, okay, here's another one I picked up.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the turkeys around here where I'm at, they know what brand turkey call you're using. That's how smart they are. And so you gotta switch it up on them.
Yeah.
But I've done it before where I've had that turkey that just kind of just stays at that spot, and it either tells me that he's with a hen or there's a obstruction between us. There's a fence or something like that. And sometimes I will back up and it's like, okay, I'm losing interest in you. I'm going this way, and a lot of times that will fire one up. They're like, okay, I'm fixing to lose this one. I got to move. And so they'll come towards you. You just gotta, play the game. It's all it's like I said, playing chess.
Yeah.
You got to decide at that moment what your move's going to be, and you got to think it through. And sometimes you don't have a lot of time. Sometimes you can be patient with it. You just got to read the bird.
Yeah. I personally, I don't have, and this is why I like to bring people like you on the show who do have a lot of experience with turkey calling and everything, because I personally do not, like I spoke about earlier, until last year or two. It really hadn't been something that I was starting to maybe become a little bit more interested in around here. But hunting deer for a long time, and then one thing that at least some of the mindsets that I'm trying to weigh it with is, a couple years ago I spent a week in the mountains with some guys on an elk hunt. So you get to, when you don't have cell phones and you're in the mountains for a week, you talk about a lot of stuff, and obviously you're there hunting elk, so you're talking about calling elk and elk, the animal's behavior and all that kind of stuff. So I know one thing that was a topic of discussion for us was always like calling in the satellite bulls versus trying to get to the herd bull. Is that kind of the same thing for turkeys? Like there's a dominant tom in a group, and you might get some of the younger ones or the jakes that might respond to your call before he does.
Yeah, a lot of times that'll happen. And those jakes now, they'll follow a big tom around, but if he's henned up, they will split off of him and come to you calling. So, you can kind of tell, not always, but you can tell the difference between a Jake gobble and a big Tom gobble. But I've had it where I've got Jakes come in like that, and I can get them to where they're fighting each other, and that will help produce that big Tom to come, because he's saying, okay, these two over there fighting over something,
Right.
and I'm over here strutting, and nothing's happening to me. So if they found a hot hand,
Yeah. So, what would you say in your experience and from talking to people, witnessing it yourself, maybe even, just learning lessons the hard way over the years, whatever it might be, what is probably one of the biggest mistakes that you see turkey hunters making when they're trying to call in a bird?
overcalling.
Overcalling.
Yes, they'll get excited, and you can blow it just that easy. Overcalling, you can push that bird away, and like I said, they'll know what turkey call you're using. And so I think when people overcall, that makes that bird think, unless you know the turkey's language, like what a yelp means and a purr means, and you know, people get too excited and overcall and not use the right, purr or yelp, or it's knowing the language,
Yeah.
because you can't have a bunch of words in front of you and not know what they are. And like, if you're going to sing a song and you don't know what the words mean, it's not going to mean anything to the person you're singing it to if you don't have any emotion behind it and know what that word's supposed to produce.
Yeah. And we might have touched on this slightly with some of our other discussions so far, but just to reiterate, or maybe a little bit more detail on, how do you determine that fine line between, am I calling enough or am I calling too much? Is it just in if he's responding to you, and if he's not, you're trying to, that's when it's a little trickier.
Yeah, when he's not responding, that's when it gets tricky, and that's when you start telling yourself, okay, maybe I'm overcalling. But I've had toms, they'll sneak in on you without gobbling. They may gobble one or two times, and then you're thinking, okay, he's not coming. And an hour later, he's there. If you can be patient enough and wait. um, I used to do like kind of like 15-minute rounds or something like that. Just if like when Todd came hunting with me, um, it was really windy and I couldn't hear whether they were gobbling or not. I mean, the wind was gusting, and so I had to use a call that kind of, pushed through all that wind that they could hear, but yet I couldn't hear them. And Todd reached around and touched me on the shoulder, and he said, "You got one coming that way." But what I was doing until I could see if something was coming was I would call, maybe wait about 15 minutes, kind of watch the area and try to hear. And it's kind of the same as whenever you're, grunting for a deer, you don't want to overdo it. You kind of use your eyes, use your ears. But like I said, a tom, there's those real leery ones and ones that just want to sneak in completely silent. I've had birds that never even gobbled at all, that just come right in on me if I was just patient enough to sit there. But I have overcalled back in the day whenever I was starting out, because I would get excited, and when they gobble, I'd just kind of excite me, and I'd go calling again, and then I'd blow it, because I just like, he's like, well, you keep answering me and you're all excited, but why are you not coming to me? Is way, the
Mm-hmm.
Tom's thinking. And that's where I would blow it.
Yeah.
So you gotta, like I said, read him, and you're going to have times where you're not going to hear them gobbling, but that doesn't mean that they're not coming, because a bird can be really far off. He can pinpoint exactly where you're at and come through the woods and find you. I mean, their hearing's excellent.
Yeah. No, I know that for sure. That was uh, the patience side of it. I know I kept hearing from the Texas hunt we had last year. That was one thing that some of the guys in camp were, we kind of had a couple different groups in a couple different areas that we're trying to call, and you know, for some guys it's the first time they're hunting with one another, so you got one guy that's like wanting to stick it out, and another guy's like, no, we need to move, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
let's hang tight for just a second. Let's see what happens here. So
Yeah.
do you prefer to try to be as stationary as possible, or are you a run and gun, get it done kind of style?
I kind of float in between.
Yeah.
It depends on, what part of the season I'm in. If they're not really, gobbling real good, I'll move a lot. But if they're gobbling, I'll kind of set up and see if I can't, get him there. I may give it an hour in that spot and nothing produces, then I'll get up and try to kind of move to a different position, see if I can get them to gobble again,
Yeah.
and just kind of work it from that point.
Gotcha. What you're like we've said many times, very very well versed in the calling side of everything. You've put a lot of work in on that. What's a trick that or maybe a sound that might be a better word for it, a calling trick or sound that most hunters, in your opinion, might not even use enough?
The purr, or not even using a mouth call or slate call or anything like that, is taking your hand while you're sitting at the tree and raking the leaves, making it sound like turkeys feeding, because just like a chicken, they scratch the leaves back and they feed. So I've had birds come to just that, where I'm just kind of fluffing the leaves, making them think that there's hens feeding over here. Or I'll take my hat off and flop it against my leg, making the sound of like the wings of a turkey.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't use that. They just go straight to their mouth calls or slate calls or box calls stuff. But uh, using your hands, and whenever I'm walking through the woods hunting for turkey, I'll take so many steps, paces, stop, and I make sure that every time I stop, I'm close to a tree in case I've got to sit down quick. But I'll take my feet and kick the leaves as I walk every now and again to make it sound like I'm a hen or, going through the woods feeding.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Are
Yeah.
there calls that are there certain calls that you prefer to use when you actually have eyes on the bird? Because I'm comparing it to, like, again, what I know better, and that's whitetails. Like for me and just my experience here in Texas, during the rut I might use a grunt call or I might hit the horns together, but like a snort wheeze, for example, I don't really like using that unless I actually have eyes on the buck I'm trying to get to respond. So
Right.
is there a call or a certain sound or something like that that's that way for turkeys for you?
If I've got my eyes on them, I will uh throw in some purrs, and I may do the cutting where they sound excited, when I've got my eyes on them and I can see them, and I see them get, they start moving around. If I can cackle or use the yelps and I see them moving, I know his excitement. I know what's really just pushing him forward, what's going to make him stop what he's doing and travel across to where I'm at. But I like um, using the purrs and the yelps. When I was talking about Ben Rogers Lee, the thing that my very first bird I ever killed, once I listened to that tape, and it was like opening season of turkey season the next day, we're getting prepared. And I got up that morning and we're, traveling to this place where we knew there were turkeys and never killed a turkey before. And we were talking about it. And the person with me goes, "Man, that'd be nice to kill a big old turkey with a long beard on it." And I said, "Yeah, I'll let you know how it feels," like that, just joking, not expecting either one of us to kill a bird, but we're going to try it. And I remembered what Ben Lee said was use a lost yelp. That's just like 4 to 7 yelps. And as we got there, we could hear some gobbling, and my buddy took off. I had to go get some stuff out of the truck, and he goes, "You'll catch up with me." I was like, "Okay." And before I could get out there, he had them gobbling. I thought, he's gonna kill one before me, and I made that comment about, "Yeah, I'll let you know how it feels." And I'm like, "Man, this is gonna be embarrassing." And I sat down and I'm like, "I'm gonna do the lost yelp like Ben Lee." And when I did, I mean, there was 3 gobblers just sounded off, and I'm like, "Okay, I did something right."
Yeah.
And I kind of patiently waited, and I did it again, and here they go. And I'm like, "Oh, they're moving towards me." They was no longer going that direction where my buddy was at. And that's all I used was that lost yelp. And I had all three of them come up in front of me, and I had my choice of three big toms with long beards, and I didn't know which one to shoot, so I shot the one in the middle. And the other two stood there doing like this. And back then, you could shoot three gobblers, and I just stood there, and I was like, "Wait, I could have shot three." But I'm like, that hooked me from that point on, and that's when I got obsessed about turkey hunting.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the kind of hunts that you don't forget for sure.
Yeah, and only twice in all the years of my turkey hunting have a bird on opening day, and that was my very first time turkey hunting, and the second time was with Todd when he come down. That was opening day of turkey season, and we got that turkey.
He still talks about that. We were talking about it even the other day, I think,
Yeah,
when we were discussing something. But yeah, that's an awesome experience as well. So
yeah, yeah.
so what about decoys? Do you use decoys? Are there certain times that are better than others? What's your opinions or experiences with that?
I like to use the decoys if I know I have actual birds. I know there's birds, and I can I kind of know how they're roosting to kind of pull them to a spot if they're hard to work. I don't necessarily carry them all the time because that's a lot of luggage to carry. I've killed probably more birds without decoys than I have with decoys. Um, but I do like them. Whenever me and Todd was hunting, I had that decoy, and it being windy like that, I knew that they were going to go out in the middle of that field because a turkey feels more comfortable in the middle of a field when all the wind's going or when it's raining because he can't hear what's going on inside the woods. And so if he gets in the middle of the field, he can, observe all the way around him what's going to sneak up on him. And so I set those decoys up to kind of help lead them towards where we were at. And it was like pulling them on a string. Once they saw my decoys and me calling, it was like I had them on a string, just pulled him right over to the
Hmm.
decoys. But I've had other birds that will spook off of them too.
Yeah.
So and I've never figured out that part when they've spook unless they've been hunted hard and other people's done it, and they've kind of learned, kind of like deer will learn once they see a stand and somebody sitting in it, they're going to look up at it. So I kind of account that the times that the decoys didn't work, that was probably a heavily hunted bird.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
so and staying on track with gear a little bit here. What's a piece of gear other than a call that you consider essential for your turkey hunting efforts? And the flip side of that I'll throw at you after, if I'll give it to you now, is just what's something that you see everybody or a lot of people, novice turkey hunters, carrying that they really don't need at all.
Let's see. My thing that I have to have is my binoculars. Carry them with me because you want to be able to glass your fields and stuff, or edges of woods and all that. So, you got a better chance of working up and getting on a bird. I had a bird that me and Ethan had been trying to take down for a while, and he just wouldn't come to calls. And I told Ethan that I was like, this bird is one of those, you got to pattern him like a deer, and you're just going to have to cut him off. So having a pair of binoculars and watching and patterning his movements, where he crosses, where he's roosting and stuff, that's the only way I could kill that bird. And that's how I got him. Uh, I see novice turkey hunters carrying too many turkey calls. Too many turkey calls. You know, find the one that you're good at. Box calls are easy for novices, and I recommend box calls. Slate call. I see a lot of novices, wanting to learn the diaphragm and not taking the time to really practice and get good at it. You don't have to be perfect, but I like to see them put more effort in if they're going to use a mouth call, that they really need to put the time in, like practicing learning to play a guitar. You need to practice with a diaphragm call.
Yeah. That was something that I fit right into that category for a while. I did not want to. It wasn't that I didn't want to. I just didn't put in the time to really mess with a diaphragm. So any like early years, any turkey hunting effort that I had, I was not using a mouth call just because I never put the time in to even really try with it. I had a couple, but that was about it. And it honestly
Yeah.
wasn't until a couple years ago when I was preparing for that elk hunt, I started really playing with diaphragm calls for like a cow elk. And after that, after I spent that time with that, it was like, okay, I tried turkey again. It's like, all right, this is a
Yeah.
little bit easier now. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying it is easy, but
Yeah.
after I'd spent that time preparing for the elk hunt that I really wanted to go on, then it was like, oh, this comes a little bit easier now as far as understanding how to poorly, probably for me compared to you, but poorly work a diaphragm call. But
Well, I'll give a tip on diaphragm calls. If you're a beginner, you don't need to get triple reeds, and the more reeds, the harder it is if you've not learned your single reed and your double reed. I mean, you got to push, you got to get them wet, you got to push more air. Once you build up them muscles to sound off that diaphragm, then you can move on up into all these different reeds that's multiplied.
yeah, yeah, gotta build up to it a little bit. But
Yeah. I mean, I started out, I think, with like two reeds, and I really wanted to go into like the three and stuff. And I'm like, man, they're really hard to work these calls. I was like, whew, I gotta build my diaphragm up to be able to work this thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest gobbler you've ever killed?
It was 23 pounds. It had a 12 and an eighth inch beard
Oh
and
wow.
one and a quarter inch spurs.
How long ago was
Yeah.
that?
The year that me and Todd hunted.
That was it? Wow.
The bird that wouldn't gobble back, that I had to figure out his pattern. Yeah.
Well,
He was the best one.
kind of like a big deer. Don't get big for no reason, you know.
That's right.
They're smart.
I I had a guy that's local here. I've not heard this because I mean, if you kill a 12-inch beard, 10 to 12-inch beard around here where I'm at, that's saying something. You got you a 4-year-old bird, but he's killed one with a 15-inch beard, and I'm like, are you messing with me?
There ain't
I'm
no
like,
way. That doesn't seem
I'm
real.
like, what? I'm like, did you misprint that when you topped that out? Are you sure you killed one with 15-inch beard on? I'm like, are you adding two of them together? Or, that's something that I've not done, is killed like a double beard or triple beard. That is on my bucket list.
Oh wow.
I've seen other people do it. I still yet to get one.
Wow. Yeah.
And
We
I heard this a long, long time ago that like if they got 21 tail feathers, that's a trophy bird. And so every time I kill one, I'm not counting the tail feathers. Like, how many you got? And I was 19. I was like, no, I want 21.
I never thought about that. I never thought about tail feathers or anything, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and look now, but I'm pretty sure when we had our turkey hunt contest last year, I'm pretty sure somebody submitted a bird that had three or four beards. I have to go
Yeah.
back and look, but I remember somebody was getting on up there like a number I hadn't seen. It might have been a teenage girl too. It might have been a youngster. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
I have to go back and look now that I'm thinking about it. But
Yeah.
uh,
I've seen, I know somebody that killed one that had five beards on it. And I'm like, come on, man.
that's
Five
crazy.
beards. Yeah.
That's crazy. So have all your turkey hunting efforts and experience, has all that been in Georgia, or have you gone elsewhere to hunt birds elsewhere? Because you have what, Easterns over there?
Yeah. Easterns.
Yeah.
Nope. It's all been in Georgia, but if everything works out, I'm gonna go up to Tennessee. That's where my brother lives, and which will be Easterns too, and try to hunt with him. He had a stroke over a year ago, and we were planning on doing a turkey hunt together, and So he's doing better now. And I said, all right, I'm coming to Tennessee. We're going to go get you your first bird because he's not ever killed one either. But I want to travel down and get an Osceola. I've got some friends down around Florida, so hopefully I can do that. But on my bucket list, I want to do a Grand Slam one of these days.
Well, when it comes time to knock off the Rio off the list,
Yeah.
give us a call,
All right.
because
I'll
I'm not
be,
saying it's going to be easy. I know Kess and Nick and Chad and the guys that came here last year. They had it wasn't an easy hunt by any means, but
yeah.
you know, Nick and Chad both put birds down, and Kess came Kess came so close. I wanted him to kill one so bad.
Yeah.
He came so close, but Nick sent this to me just a couple days ago, but on the reveal
Okay.
cell cam right there.
Man, he's teasing us now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
got me fired up. We'll have to put a
Yeah.
video together or something, but yeah, we got him showing up. But
That's awesome.
so want to I want to get into just some advice because obviously, as you know, we try to have an educational element to a lot of our stuff here at Fall Obsession for people in different walks of hunting and everything, but especially for those who are just now getting into it, or you know, consider yourself talking to me, right? Because I don't know nothing. but but for somebody who is, let's just say, a hunter who is hunting turkeys for the very first time, what would you say are the top three things that they need to focus on and they need to think about?
First of all, they need to um, check their shots, practice with whatever gauge shotgun, and find out what shell works best for the shotgun that you have, what brand, and pattern it, and make sure that you're, you know, making good shots and you know your range and you don't try to overshoot your range. That's the biggest thing on people that at first started getting into turkey hunting. They don't take the time. They think, okay, I just grab shotgun. Shotgun scatters a lot. It'll kill, you know. And I'm like, you got to practice. You got to check your, your gear. Make sure that you're getting enough pellets in that neck. Um, they need to get out and just observe and see the birds in action if you can get close. I mean, just driving up and down the road when you go back and forth to the store, whatever, and you see turkeys, if you can, just pull over and watch them. If you can hear them, listen, at any chance, or, watch some YouTube videos of turkeys and wild turkeys and what they sound like, and get a feel for what their language is, what they're saying back and forth to each other. Learning the language is one of the biggest things, and learning how they live. They like to roost around water. They like to be up in pines or oak trees around here on top of the ridges, or they like to be down in bottoms. Find out, get out in the woods, put some tracks out, and look for sign of make sure you got turkeys, and so that if it's a place they're roosting, you'll see their droppings, you know. And when you
Yeah.
start seeing those big question mark droppings, and you know where that big tom's roosting at.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So, what is and this is something that, again, somebody with the limited experience that I have, that a question I seem to always be asking myself every year if I find myself out there trying to chase a bird is how late into the day are you trying to find them or drum something up, and as the day gets later, do your tactics change if you're thus far unsuccessful?
The mornings, you're waiting for them to, come off the roost, and that's when the tom's going to really be looking for his hens. That's when he's going to be really kind of most vocal. He's going to sound off, whether he's roosted near the hens or he's trying to find them. That's when he's going to be gobbling, and that's going to help you. But as it kind of moves later in the day, you're going to find them just kind of roaming out, cutting across fields. They're really going to be searching because they're going to split off from them hens at a certain part during the day. In the middle of the day is a good time to try to kill toms because the hen's going to go, start trying to make nests, go back to nesting and stuff. So he's going to kind of be out there middle of the day, like unless he stays with that hen for that whole period of time of breeding, they're going to be out and easier to kill in the middle of the day a lot of times. But I like mornings and evenings before it gets dark. I like both those times because if you know where they're roosting, then you can set up and wait for them to come that way. But when they get tough to kill or can't find them, that's when I like that middle of the day. I will go all day long if I can. If it doesn't produce that first part of the day, they come off the roost and they're not interested, man, they go this way. I was like, okay, we'll move on, or I'll move to another spot or another hunting property. I come back and check this later, middle of the day, or all right, they were on the roost here this morning, so I'm gonna come back here this evening and see if I can't, kind of cut them off before they go to the roost.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's always something that has I don't know. Just again, being a novice hunter, it's always something that I'm just like, man, how long am I supposed to be out here? Especially if they're not being cooperating or not
Yeah.
cooperating, and that's where that patience that you talked about earlier, I feel like that's where it really comes into play a lot. So
Yeah, it's kind of like fishing. You just got they call it fishing for a reason. They call it hunting for a reason. They don't call it killing. You got to be patient.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I would be remiss if I didn't ask a couple of questions that are a little bit more conservation related. Because if folks or yourself have been watching the show in recent months, you know that I like to talk about wildlife conservation, and I get pretty
Yes.
fired up and passionate about it and everything. But um, what are some of the biggest factors from your knowledge and experience that affect turkey populations right now?
I think what's done damage to a lot of turkey populations is when they started allowing for you to pour corn out because turkeys, if they if they keep feeding and like if there's a pile and they keep feeding and they're dropping, they're pooping in the same place, they get disease
Hmm.
and it kills them off. So I think once, like here in Georgia, once they allowed people to put out corn for deer, it hurt the turkey population in my mind when they did that.
Yeah,
But you know, the other thing that hurts our turkey population in conservation is destroying their habitat. If you don't have roost trees, you're not going to have turkeys. They can't sleep on the ground at night. You got to have your trees from the roost in. You got to have the habitat that they need to nest and bring up their poults.
yeah. And does that like in your area, for example, and even in your background right now on the podcast, and those watching the video can see it. You have tall trees. You got what I'm assuming are pine trees behind you, or at least some of
Mhm.
them. And
Yeah.
then I know there's probably a mixture of some hardwoods and some other stuff that you deal with. Is there one environment that is or a different sort of roost that's better for them than another one, or that they prefer over another?
I've seen like flocks, if because you'll see pines, pines, there'll be more than one when you see like a little pine grove. And so that's when I see flocks will stand that. And as far as like the toms, when they break away and single, I'll see them roosting in the oak trees
I gotcha.
instead of those pines. Because the hens, unless they're nesting, the hens, they'll pretty much roost together.
And what about predators? Is that a problem in your area that impacts them significantly?
Uh, Coyotes will do a lot of damage to our turkeys, especially like I said, if they don't have the habitat to be able to hide and make their nest. That's where uh, skunks and coyotes and all kind of stuff like that will do damage to turkey nests, 'cause she's going to get up sometimes to go feed and drink, and she come back and sit on those eggs again, or something's going to run her off those eggs. But if they're on the ground and she's not got a place where she can, the brush and stuff to hide, then you're not going to have, a big turkey population.
Yeah.
If they don't have the habitat. It's just the same with like our quail and bob white. If you don't have that habitat, you don't have the birds.
Yeah. We saw that at our place with the wild hogs that we have out here, because like when we were the first couple years we had this property, 2021, 2022, even into 23 a little bit. We just, it felt like we had pigs out our ears, and there were no turkeys. Like you could count on one hand in the whole year how many trail cam pictures you get of a turkey anywhere on the property.
Yeah.
And then we had a bad drought, and the pigs seemed to kind of move out because they were, I'm assuming, looking for some wetter ground that they could spend their time in. And the years that have followed, really 24 and now into 25 and 26, we've seen our turkey population just go way up compared to what it was 5-6 years ago. And that's the best thing that I can figure, because our coyote population has increased as well, which I'm not a fan of, and we're trying to do what we can with that. But with the hogs being, every once in a while you'll catch a picture of them or hear them roaming through, but it's few and far between right now, and the turkeys seem to be benefiting from that. Just, again, not being as tuned into turkeys as I have been in recent years, not something I ever really thought about before, but the hogs have an impact on that. So
Yeah, definitely. Um, Rainy seasons have a impact on the turkeys.
yeah,
If because when it's raining, they look up, they'll drown. The poults will
I've
drown.
I've heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Now, here where I'm at, we don't have a fall turkey season. We just have spring.
Yeah.
And I know other states will have a fall, which that helps us here. Uh, when I first started hunting turkeys here, it was three turkeys, and then if I could get one turkey on public land, but now it's two turkeys, which I'm glad they did. There's some years where I'll just go out and call and just want to see the turkeys. If I think the turkey population's down, I'm not going to shoot one, but I'm still going to go out, look at them and call and stuff. I may not take one if I think the turkey population is down, and they've got us down to two, so you can kill one on public land and one on private land, which I think that's a good benefit,
Yeah.
because the year that Todd came, turkeys they were pretty decent, and then I seen kind of a decline in them the year after that. So
Yeah, it ebbs and flows, and it's definitely something for people, just even your everyday hunters, to be paying attention to. So
yeah,
because the and I think that's what makes the difference in some extent between just somebody who hunts because you got a license with tags on it, and somebody who actually cares about the wildlife and tries to be conservation minded with their hunting efforts. Because when you're able to, if the government tells you, hey, you can kill 2 turkeys this year, but you're looking at your own turkey populations on where you have access at least, and you're like, man, I don't know if that I can sustain killing me taking two birds off of it this year. That's the restraint I feel like that makes a difference in conservation, at least in what is relevant to an individual in our corner of the woods, right? So
right, yeah, that's like our deer season here. You could kill like 15 does and 2 bucks. I'm like, I'm not going to take 15 does. And just because it says you can doesn't mean I'm going to go out and do it. But, there's other hunters around here that they feel like they got to fill every one of those tags. And it's not necessarily because they're starving. That was the way they was raised.
yeah,
That, the more, hey, I got this many down, I'm not that way. Yeah. And as far as, my turkey and my deer, I'd like to get me, if I get that one good turkey and I get that one good deer during deer season, I'm happy.
yeah.
You know.
Now we got on our license here, we get 5 whitetail tags, and 4 turkey tags and that's for as far as turkey, that's for fall and spring combined.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Nick and I are lucky if one of us, but if one bird goes down between the two of us, honestly.
Yeah.
So we're not really flirting with killing 8 birds between the two of us. Now on deer, that's different. Like, you know, we're allowed to kill 5. 3 of them are does. One of them is a mature buck, and the other one is basically a spike. Is all that it's allowed to be. And I
Yeah.
typically I have done it before, but I'm not very eager ever to fill that spike tag. That's just it's not something that's I would
Yeah.
rather have another big deer in the pool here in a few years opposed to a few more
Yeah.
pounds of meat in the freezer now. That's my thought on the matter. But
Right.
it's different for everybody depending on where they're at. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I can see it getting dark behind you because you're recording the podcast. I know you're on at your home, but it looks like you're in the turkey woods. But
Yeah.
it's starting to get dark, and that's my cue to start wrapping it up, I guess. But
Yeah.
I got 2 or 3 questions turkey related that I want to hit you with just in closing as we wrap it up.
Okay.
Just some of them are kind of fun and another educational one thrown in there. But the first one is, if you could only use one turkey call for the rest of your life, what would it be?
My own voice.
Your own voice. Fair enough.
Right.
When you're experienced enough as you, I guess I guess that's the biggest asset you got.
I save money that way.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a good answer for sure. In your opinion, are turkeys the smartest game animal that we hunt?
I don't want to say they're the smartest. They're right there with the same level. I think turkey and whitetail. I don't know. I almost want to say whitetail's smarter than the turkeys.
They're pretty stinking smart. They
Yeah.
got me figured out.
Yeah. One of the reasons people say, I don't really turkey. I don't get that. And I said, no, dude, it's fun. I said, you get to make noise and you get to get up and move. I said, instead of being cramped in the same place the whole time waiting for the deer to come through, I said, you get to move and make noises.
Yeah,
Look stupid.
for sure.
Yeah.
Last one I got for you, and this might be something that we've already even covered throughout the length of this episode, and if it is, we can reiterate it. But what is one thing that you wish more everyday turkey hunters understood?
That they're only barring it right now, that we have a generation coming up, that they should have the chance to be able to see the wild turkeys and hunt the wild turkeys. Don't overdo it, Think about the kids in the future.
I would copy and paste that response to any piece of hunting in the outdoors at period, end of story. Not just turkeys.
Right.
That's very
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Well, Kendra, thank you for your time. I know it won't be the last time that we have you on the show, and I'd definitely like to maybe do a part 2 to this turkey hunt thing, maybe later in the season after you've put a big tom on the ground. We can recap that and dive in a little bit more and give our listeners a little bit more to work with on some turkey conversations. But for now, I appreciate your time this evening and coming back on the show. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, real quick, I meant to bring it up earlier because I know you put a lot of videos. You share some with us here at Fall Obsession that we post, but you put a lot of videos on your own social media too, with turkey call and that kind of stuff. Tell our listeners where they can find you on TikTok or Instagram, all the places.
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok. It will say Little Dare or Ahui Usti. That's my Cherokee name. If if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see it, and because of Facebook and Instagram, all there's like that meta, it kind of hooks you up all the way around. But I also put stuff on my YouTube. I've got because of the drone business, I have Georgia Airborne Whitetail Recovery, and that's my YouTube page, and I post the turkey stuff on there. But most of the stuff's on TikTok because that's where all the turkey fans are. I mean, they're just eating it up over there.
That's awesome.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, for those tuning in, you guys make sure that you go check out Kendra's pages and follow along. Share your turkey hunting stories and experience with us this year. We'd love to hear about it and see the birds y'all are putting down. We're gonna try to have some more turkey hunting podcasts coming up here in the coming weeks. I got a couple more guests lined up that are gonna be pretty good. But until then, we're gonna hang this one up. Kendra, thank you again for coming on the show this evening.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back again next week for another podcast. I'll catch y'all then.